Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Fix. I'm Megan Sharp, and today I want to ask you something that might hit a little close to home. When was the last time you did something just for you, without worrying about what anyone else thought? If you're sitting there struggling to come up with an answer, I'm willing to bet that you're not alone. So many of us have spent years bending, shifting, and shrinking ourselves to fit into the mold of what others expect, whether it's family, friends, or even society as a whole. But what if I told you that the key to true confidence and fulfillment is learning to love yourself so much that no matter what you do, that you no longer owe anyone an explanation? Think about that for just a minute. How much better would your life be? In today's episode, we're going to tackle the struggle of people pleasing and what it means to step into your most authentic self unapologetically. So if you're ready to take a break and free yourself from constantly seeking approval and start living a life on your own terms, this episode is for you. First, let's start with why so many of us become people pleasers in the first place. It usually starts pretty early on, whether it's from trying to win the approval of our parents or fitting in with friends, or even feeling pressure from society to be nice and agreeable. Somewhere along the way, we start tying our worth to how well we can meet the expectations of others. And let's be real, humans need humans. So naturally, we're looking for that approval. In fact, a 2021 global survey found that about 33% of adults reported feelings of loneliness worldwide. Now, that's kind of astonishing if you stop to think about it. That's a huge number. That's 1/3 of the people in our world are walking around feeling disconnected, unseen, or unheard. And when we experience loneliness, our brains naturally push us to seek acceptance and validation from others. We start to believe if we can just be who they want us to be, we won't feel so alone. But here's the thing. This need for connection quickly turns into a pattern of people pleasing, where we constantly put their desires and expectations of others above our own well-being. And it's truly not just about avoiding loneliness. It's wired into us. According to research published in the APA journal, people who have a strong desire for social acceptance are more likely to suppress their true feelings and opinions in order to maintain relationships and avoid rejection. This can show up in so many ways. Saying yes when you really mean no, avoiding conflicts at all costs, or over-explaining our choices to make sure that others understand and approve of them. We become addicted to that validation. When someone approves of us, it feels good, right? It's like a little hit of dopamine every time someone says, "Wow, you're such a good friend," or "I can always count on you." And yeah, we want to be that for the people that are our true people. But here's the problem. Every time we prioritize someone else's expectations over our own needs, we chip away at our own authenticity. We start living our lives based on what other people want rather than what actually fulfills us. And over time, this can lead to feeling disconnected from our true selves, trapped in this cycle where we can't say no and stuck in relationships that don't serve us. We might even start to believe that our worth is directly tied to how much we do for others, whether it's at work, in our friendships, or even within our own families. And if you're nodding along thinking, "Yep, that's me," don't worry, you're not alone. I've been there. But I can also tell you that you can break free from it. Recognizing the pattern is the first step to taking back control and learning how to prioritize yourself without feeling guilty. Because at the end of the day, true connection isn't about shrinking yourself to fit in. It's about showing up as the real you and trusting that the right people will love you for it. Have you ever stopped to think about what the true cost is of always putting others first? Here's the truth. People pleasing comes at a steep price. The first is burnout and resentment. The second is potential for loss of identity. And third, chronic anxiety and stress. When you're constantly saying yes to everyone else, whether it's your boss, your family, your friends, or even casual acquaintances, you end up running on empty. It's like you're in this hamster wheel and you just simply can't get out. The constant need to meet expectations, keep everyone happy all the time, and avoid disappointing others can take a massive toll on your mental, emotional, and even your physical well-being. And at first, you might feel like you're managing everything just fine. You tell yourself, I can handle it. It's just one more thing. They need me. It's just for now. But over time, the weight of always being available, always showing up, and always putting yourself last really starts to creep in. You begin feeling drained. Like no matter how much you sleep or how much you feel that, you're taking care of yourself, you're just still so exhausted. And it's not just physical exhaustion. It's that deep emotional fatigue that makes even the simplest tasks feel so overwhelming. Burnout doesn't just happen overnight. It's a slow buildup of constantly neglecting your own needs and putting others first, always. And the worst part, you might not even realize that it's happening until you hit a breaking point. You start to feel unappreciated, overextended, and maybe even a little invisible. And that's when the resentment sneaks in. You begin to resent the people you're trying to please, even though they may not even realize you're struggling. It's really easy to feel like they're taking advantage of your kindness or expecting too much. But the truth is, you've trained them to rely on you. I always say that we train people how to treat us. So if you never set boundaries, you're teaching them that that is the expectation and that it's okay for them to take full advantage of you. And now it becomes this feeling that's so impossible to break the cycle. Maybe you catch yourself thinking, why am I the only one who always has to step up? I've been there. I've asked the same question. Why doesn't anyone ask what I need? Or I give so much and no one even notices. Have you ever asked yourself those questions? And here's the hard truth. When you constantly overextend yourself to please others, you end up resenting not just them, but yourself too. You start questioning your own worth and wondering why you never seem to have enough energy or time for the things that you actually enjoy. The scary part is that this pattern can spill into every other area of your life. At work, you might take on extra projects, stay late, or overcommit to prove your value. In relationships, you might find yourself saying yes to things that make you uncomfortable just to avoid conflict. And in your personal life, your goals slowly take a back seat because you're too busy fulfilling everyone else's needs. Then there's the loss of identity. The more you mold yourself to fit other people's expectations, the further you drift from your true self. It happens so gradually that you might not even notice it at first. You say yes to things you don't really want to do, adjust your opinions to keep the peace, and push your own needs aside to make others comfortable. Over time, it becomes second nature until one day you wake up and realize you have no idea who you really are anymore. And some of the questions that might pop in are, what do I even like to do? You've completely lost touch with all of your hobbies because you no longer have time to do them. Or what are my values beyond what anyone else expects of me? Am I making decisions for myself or am I just doing what others want? And I think a really big one is, who am I when no one else is around? Losing your sense of identity isn't just about making compromises. It's about constantly putting on a version of yourself that you think others will accept. It's about the subtle sacrifices that you make daily, changing the way you speak, downplaying your accomplishments, or avoiding expressing your true opinions because you're afraid of judgment or rejection. I know because I've been there. But over time, it chips away at your confidence and your self-worth, leaving you feeling disconnected from your own life. And just like I mentioned before, what's even scarier is that this can seep into every part of your life, your relationships, your career, and even your own self-image. You become so focused on keeping everyone happy that your own goals and desires take a backseat. I'm willing to bet that you've probably given up hobbies that you once loved, changing your personal style to fit in, or stopped pursuing dreams that once excited you because that didn't align with what others expected from you. And let's be honest. When you're constantly living for others, it is downright exhausting. It takes so much energy to keep up with a version of yourself that isn't really you. You start feeling like an imposter in your own life, going through the motion but never truly feeling fulfilled. You might even start to feel a deep sense of sadness or frustration without fully understanding why. But here's the truth, and hear me when I say this. You're not meant to live your life as a watered down version of yourself. The people who truly care about you will want you to show up as the real, raw, unfiltered you. And the first step to reclaiming your identity is giving yourself permission to explore who you actually are outside of the roles and expectations others have placed on you. A good example of this is we host events at our house for the kids. And yes, I clean my house and make sure that it looks all tidy. And, especially when there's people that we've never really met before. But the people that I have over at my house all the time should be willing to come over with no judgment, knowing that my house is not always pristine. And if I have to stop to question whether or not they're going to judge the way my house is that day, then those are not my people. I need to really reevaluate my circle. And then there's the chronic anxiety and stress that comes along with all of it. Seeking approval from others can trap you in an exhausting cycle of anxiety and self-doubt. Plain and simple. It's like living under a microscope constantly. You're constantly analyzing your words, actions, and even your thoughts to make sure that you're meeting everyone else's expectations. Maybe you find yourself asking questions like, what will they think if I say no? What if they don't like me anymore? Am I doing enough? This relentless need for validation keeps your mind in overdrive, constantly second guessing yourself and overanalyzing every interaction that you have. Instead of feeling confident and secure in your choices, you're stuck in this loop of worrying about how others are going to perceive you. And am I wrong? It's exhausting. When you're always focused on keeping everyone happy, you're essentially living life on high alert. Your nervous system stays in a constant state of fight or flight because deep down, the fear of disappointing others feels like a threat. Not only does this have a huge impact on your mental health, but this also leads to physical symptoms that you probably don't even realize are what are contributing to them, like headaches, tension in your shoulders or neck, digestive issues, poor sleep. Your body is carrying around the weight of the world and all of your mental stress, and it's showing up in ways that you might not even realize. But people pleasing doesn't just drain your energy. It shrinks your potential. Hear me again. People pleasing doesn't just drain your energy. It shrinks your potential. It holds you back from taking risks, stepping outside of your comfort zone, and truly going after what you want in life. Why? Because deep down, there's this constant fear that what others will say or think are going to play a big role in how you're moving forward. You start second guessing yourself before you even begin. You might have big dreams, like starting a business, pursuing a new career, moving to a new city, or even something as simple as speaking up in meetings. But if you're always seeking approval, you might never take that leap. Instead, you stay stuck in the cycle and playing it safe, choosing what feels acceptable to others rather than what truly excites you. Let me ask you this. How many times have you watered down your goals because you were afraid of standing out? Or how often have you chosen the safe path over the ones that light you up inside? How much of your life have you spent trying to live up to someone else's expectations instead of your own? And the real question is, how much longer are you willing to keep doing this? You see, the truth is, when you prioritize others' opinions over your own desires, you end up living a version of your life that's not truly yours. You might think, I'll go after what I want someday. But here's the harsh reality. Someday never comes unless you take action now. People pleasing makes you put your dreams on the back burner while you focus on making sure that everyone else is comfortable. And the longer you do it, the harder it becomes to ever recognize what you really want. Here's something to consider. Most people aren't thinking about you as much as you probably think they are. We get so wrapped up in worrying about what others might say, but the truth is that everyone's really too busy dealing with their own stuff to scrutinize every move you make. The fear of judgment is often an illusion that holds us back more than any actual criticism ever could. So you might be asking now, how do we actually stop this exhausting cycle and start living authentically? Well, it all starts with one thing, which is self-love. When you genuinely love and accept yourself, you stop seeking approval from others because you already have it from you, which is the most important. You become so solid in who you are that you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. You realize that your worth isn't tied to whether someone else agrees with your choices or not. Stepping into your most authentic self starts with a mindset shift. It's not about waking up one day and suddenly not caring what others think. I wish it was that easy, but it's about rewiring how you see yourself and how you respond to the world around you. Here are a few powerful mindset shifts that helped me, and I think that they might help you too. 1, stop apologizing for being yourself. Just own your space. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices, your lifestyle, or your goals. If something makes you happy, that's reason enough. So many of us downplay who we are to fit into someone else's version of acceptable. What does that even mean? Whether it's the way you dress, the career you're chasing, or the way you spend your free time. Stop apologizing for it. The next time you feel the urge to explain or justify your decisions, I want you to pause. Take a second and just pause. You can simply say to yourself, this is what works for me, and then leave it at that. You owe nobody an explanation. If you're somebody who enjoys writing, I encourage you to write down 3 things about yourself that you've been hesitant to pursue and challenge yourself to embrace them fully. Just own them. And then practice using confident language. Replace I think with I know. And then I want you to replace I'm sorry with thank you for understanding. I don't know what it is about human nature. We always feel the need to say, I'm sorry. I used to go to this gym, which I'm very sad that it's closed now. But one of the trainers there, when we would make a mistake, if we apologized, she would make us stop and rethink the I'm sorry and say, I'm going to do better. Rewire what you're telling yourself. And when you're doing these practices, I want you to remember that the people who truly support you won't need an explanation. They're just going to be there to cheer you on. Another thing that really helped me was to set boundaries without guilt. You have to protect your peace. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you someone who respects their time, energy, and their emotional well-being. Because every time you say yes to something that you don't want, you're saying no to something that truly matters to you. Boundaries aren't barriers. They're filters that help protect what's most valuable in your life. Practice saying no with confidence. Now, I want to tell you, this was probably the hardest thing for me. And it's something that I didn't even really learn up until probably the last year or 2. So start with small things like declining an invitation you don't feel up for, and work your way up to bigger decisions. If somebody invites you to a party and those are not your people and you don't really want to go because it's not going to bring you joy, say no and leave it at that. Fill that time with something that brings more meaning and value to your life. Something else that helps when you're trying to say no or trying to determine whether or not that task is going to serve you is you can use what I call a buffer phrase. Like, I'd love to, but I have other commitments right now. Remind yourself that setting boundaries doesn't mean that you're pushing people away. It means that you're protecting your well-being. We only have a certain amount of time in each day, and you can't constantly fill it with things that don't bring you joy. Remember that every yes you give should align with your values and your capacity, not just with what's convenient for others. And something I really want you to practice daily is redefining your self-worth. You are enough. Period. Your worth isn't based on how much you do for others. It's based on who you are as a person. Many of us were taught that being useful equals being valuable, but the truth is you are inherently worthy just by existing. You don't need to prove yourself through overgiving or overcommitting or over-explaining. So what I want you to work on is replacing self-doubt with affirmations like, I am worthy just as I am. And I know that sounds cheesy, but seriously, if you try it and you tell yourself that every day, you are what you say you are. Your brain starts to believe it. Take inventory of all the ways you bring value to the world, not just in what you do, but in who you are. That value might be something very different than somebody else that you know or somebody else that you look up to, and that's okay. You are uniquely you for a reason, and you bring value to the world that you're in. Start prioritizing things that bring you joy, not just things that make you feel productive. Remember that your value isn't tied to external validation. It's tied to your self-belief and the love that you show yourself. Now, this one is interesting, and I feel like this is probably a huge struggle for a lot of people, but you have to get comfortable with discomfort. Embrace being unliked, because I'm here to tell you, you are going to be unliked at some point in your life. This is something that I tell my kids all the time. Not everyone will like you, and that is more than okay. We spend so much time bending and molding ourselves to be accepted that we forget the most powerful truth. Authenticity attracts the right people and repels the wrong ones. Your job isn't to be liked by everyone. It's to live authentically and to surround yourself with those who truly appreciate you for you. Challenge yourself to stop seeking approval in small ways. So post your honest thoughts on social media. Wear that bold outfit that you love, or voice your opinion in a meeting. Now, I'm not saying to hide behind the social media mask that so many people do. Don't be a mean person. But if you're feeling something, don't be afraid to share it. Notice who respects your boundaries and who pushes against them. Those who respect them are your people. Accept that discomfort is a part of growth. And it's okay to feel uneasy when you start showing up as your true self. It means that you're on the right path. When you stop seeking universal approval, you make space for deeper, more meaningful connections with people who love you for you. The moment that I stopped trying to explain myself to everyone was the moment I started living freely, honestly. You don't need to justify your career choices, your parenting style, your relationships, or your dreams to anyone. Your life is yours to live. Okay, so let's dig in a little bit more into practical steps that you can take right now to stop people pleasing and start showing up as your authentic self. 1, pause before saying yes. I just said that a second ago. But when someone asks something of you, take a moment to check in with yourself. Ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Or am I just afraid to say no? Instead of responding immediately, build in that buffer by saying, let me think about it and get back to you. This small pause gives you the space to evaluate if the request aligns with your priorities rather than feeling pressured into an automatic yes. And before responding, why don't you ask yourself some powerful questions? Why do I care what they think? Why does this actually bother me? Challenging your internal narrative really does help you uncover whether your decision is rooted in genuine desire or in deep-seated fear of disappointing others. So again, you can use things like, I'll have to check my schedule to create space for thoughtful decision making. Don't be so impulsive, and use the hell yes rule, because if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Slowing down your response time helps you make intentional choices instead of reactive ones. Then there's starting small with boundaries. Boundaries are a hard one for people to start setting. So if boundaries feel overwhelming, start small. Low risk situations first, like declining an invitation, like I had mentioned earlier. You can practice saying no with kindness and confidence by offering alternatives such as, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I won't be able to make it this time. You don't have to give them an explanation as to why you're not going. You're just simply setting that boundary. Building this skill gradually will help you tackle bigger boundaries later on. And then stop to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if I say no? Am I afraid of disappointing them, or am I afraid of how I'll feel about disappointing them? Because that's a really big difference. Try putting this into practice by saying no to one small request this week, even if it feels uncomfortable, because I'm going to tell you, it's probably going to feel uncomfortable in the very beginning, but it will get easier. Replace I can't with I won't to reinforce that you're making the choice for yourself. Again, this goes back to what aligns with your values and what's important to you. You can, you're just choosing not to. So replace I can't with I won't and own it. Taking small steps helps build the confidence you need to establish stronger boundaries in bigger areas of your life. And then use affirmations and self-talk. Again, this doesn't work for everybody. And I think I got really good at this because I was a pitcher for softball and I constantly had to talk myself through things. I had to tell myself, even on my worst days, that I could do better, that I was going to do better. And then I was good enough just as I was. And then I had to work towards a goal. So your mindset is a powerful tool in breaking free from people pleasing. Remind yourself daily that I am enough just as I am. My worth isn't dependent on others' approval. Self-affirmations help rewire the way you think about yourself and can gradually shift your inner dialogue from seeking validations to self-assurance. And then ask yourself, would I still do this if no one was watching me? Am I making this choice for me or for their approval? And something that probably, again, seems silly, but works for me, and I use it for my kids, is write affirmations on sticky notes and place them where you'll see them daily. The mirror, the refrigerator, your phone screensaver, whatever that looks like to you, places that you're going to look multiple times a day. Write words of affirmation and rewire your brain. Use the power of I am statements. I am strong. I am worthy. I am enough. And then celebrate small wins like saying no without guilt to reinforce your self-worth. Reframing that inner dialogue allows you to anchor your value internally rather than externally. And this one is probably the most important of all. Surround yourself with supportive people. You are the sum of the people that you spend the most time with. So you need to seek out relationships with people who encourage you to be yourself, not people who expect you to fit into their narrative. The right support system will respect your boundaries, uplift your confidence, and inspire you to stay true to yourself. They're gonna make you better, and they're not gonna ask you to water yourself down. Stop to ask yourself, do the people in my life support my growth, or do they make me feel obligated? That's huge. Am I surrounding myself with those who align with my authentic self that are making me better? Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with certain people. Do they uplift you or do they drain you? We've all been around those people. And then distance yourself from relationships that thrive on your compliance and start investing in connections that value your authenticity. And then practice open communication with those closest to you about your journey towards self-empowerment. What are your goals? Share those with them, because the people that are closest to you are going to be there for accountability. They're going to want to see you succeed and to carry those out. When you have a solid support system, it's easier to stay aligned with your true self without seeking constant external validation. There's always going to be people to break you down. There's plenty of those people in the world. Losers focus on winners. You don't see those people getting ahead and worrying about what it is that you're doing, because the people that are doing well in life, that are truly confident and are going places, are not breaking you down because they're confident in who they are and where they're going. And you need to be on that same path. Something else that was really helpful for me was journaling my thoughts. Now, I enjoy writing, so that probably comes easy to me. And if you're not a writer, you can do voice memos on your phone just as easily. Writing down when you feel the urge to please others and what triggers it can bring massive clarity to the underlying patterns driving your behaviors. Journaling allows you to reflect on moments when you feel pressured, track your progress, and develop healthier responses over time. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I disappoint them? What does saying no bring up for me emotionally? These are really important things to pay attention to. So start a people-pleasing awareness journal to jot down moments when you feel the need to seek approval. What is it that you're really seeking? What are you lacking in your life right now that is making you seek this approval outside? And reflect on what specific fears or beliefs arise when you struggle to say no. Write out how you would handle the same situation differently next time. So maybe you didn't do it perfectly this time. That's okay. There's always room for improvement. Write down what you're going to do differently next time so that you're better prepared. Journaling increases self-awareness and helps you identify patterns that you might not notice in the moment. Another big one is practice assertiveness. Assertiveness is the sweet spot between being passive and being aggressive. It's about expressing your thoughts, feelings, and needs in a way that respects both yourself and others. Because I do still strongly believe that you can be very assertive and still be respectful of others. Practicing assertiveness will help you communicate your boundaries clearly and confidently without feeling guilty. Again, asking those questions. Why do I feel the need to justify my decisions? How can I communicate my needs without over-explaining? Keep it short. Use I statements like, I need some time for myself, or I feel overwhelmed when I take on too many commitments. I just used this the other day in a text message when somebody asked for my help. I had to really stop to consider, is this thing going to bring me joy or is it going to cause me stress? And then I responded with that same thing. I feel overwhelmed when I take on too many commitments, and right now my plate is very full. Thank you so much for thinking of me, and please be sure to ask me the next time something like this comes up, but I have to say no for now. That's it. Very simple. The more you practice it, the better it gets. Practice saying no without over-explaining or justifying. And then role play challenging conversations with a trusted friend to build that confidence. So if you have somebody that's trusted in your inner circle and you're struggling in this area, have them ask you things and just practice saying no and owning it. Being assertive helps you stand your ground while maintaining healthy relationships with others. Plain and simple. It's not being mean. It's just maintaining healthy relationships with others, which is essential for your well-being. And then let go of the fear of disapproval. One of the biggest obstacles to overcome people pleasing is the fear of disappointing others. But here's the reality. No matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. So learning to accept that not everyone will approve of your choices is seriously a game changer in reclaiming who you are. And then ask yourself, what's more important to you, living for others or living for myself? And if I let go of needing their approval, how would my life change? Remind yourself that you can't control how others perceive you, but you can control how you show up for yourself. Visualize yourself confidently making these decisions without worrying about what other people will think, because when that time presents itself, you're confidently going to be able to make that decision and not care. And then set realistic expectations. Your goal isn't to please everyone, but to live in alignment with your values, because accepting that you can't make everyone happy frees you to focus on what makes you happy. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that living authentically doesn't mean that you don't care about others. It means that you care about yourself enough to put your needs first. It means that you trust yourself enough to know what's right for you and not feeling the need to justify it to anyone. And listen, when you stop people pleasing, the right people stay, and the wrong ones, well, they naturally fall away. And that's a good thing. The people who truly love and respect you the most won't require you to constantly explain yourself. They're just going to get you. So today I want to challenge you. Start embracing who you are unapologetically. Take up space. Own your voice, and remember that you don't need permission to live the life that makes you happy. All right, friends. So here's the takeaway. Your life is yours, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for being who you are. I've learned that I'm not for everyone, and I'm completely at peace with that. Own who you are, and just know that you aren't going to be for everyone. But as long as you are living the life that you have been called for, know that you are enough just as you are, and that you deserve to live authentically without feeling the need to seek approval. Stop listening to the critics. They're out there. Stop listening to them. I have these little cards on my desk that a friend gave me, and one of them says, once you fall in love with yourself, their game is over. Think about that. If today's episode resonated with you, I ask that you do two things. One, take one action step today, whether it's setting a boundary, saying no, or simply reminding yourself that you are enough. And two, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Let's create a movement so that more people can be done with people pleasing and be ready to own their lives unapologetically. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. I would love if you leave a review, because that is how I really like to connect with you on social media and through YouTube. Let's keep this conversation going. And until next time, stay confident, stay strong, and stay unfiltered. See you soon.